Therefore, I'm free to say everything or nothing. I can hardly make an error if there is no such thing as orthogonal time. Orthogonal or right-angled time is the topic of supposing that all change takes place along the linear time axis, from past to present to future. The present is an accrual of the past and is different from it. The future will accrue from the present on and be different yet. That an orthogonal or right-angled time axis could exist, a lateral domain in which change takes place, processes occurring sideways in reality, so to speak, this is almost impossible to imagine. How would we perceive such lateral changes? What would we experience? What clues, if we are trying to test out this bizarre theory, should we be on the alert for? In other words, how can change take place outside of linear time at all, in any sense, to any degree? Let me present you with a metaphor. Let us say that there exists this very rich patron of the arts. Every day on the wall of his living room above his fireplace, his servants hang a new picture, each day a different masterpiece, day after day, month after month. Each day the used one is removed and replaced by a different and new one. I shall call this process change along the linear axis. But now let us suppose the servants temporarily running out of new replacement pictures. What shall they do in the meantime? They can't just leave the present one hanging. Their employer has decreed that perpetual replacement, that is to say, changing the pictures, is to take place. So they neither allow the current one to remain, nor do they replace it with a new one. Instead, they do a very clever thing. When their employer is not looking, the servants cunningly alter the picture already on the wall. They paint out a tree here, they paint in a little girl there, they add this, they obliterate that, they make the same painting different, and in a sense new, but as I'm sure you can see, not new in the sense of replacing it. The employer enters his living room after dinner, seats himself facing the fireplace, and contemplates what should be, according to his expectations, the new picture. What does he see? It certainly isn't what he saw previously, but also it isn't somehow, and here we must become very sympathetic with this perhaps somewhat stupid man, because we can virtually see his brain circuits striving to understand. His brain circuits are saying, yes, it is a new picture. It is not the same one as yesterday. But also it is the same one, I think. I feel on a very deep intuitive basis, I feel that somehow I've seen it before. I seem to remember a tree, though, and there is no tree. Now, perhaps if we extrapolate from this man's perceptual, mentational confusion to the theoretical point I was making about lateral change, you can get a better idea of what I mean. I mean, perhaps you can, to at least a degree, see that although what I'm talking about may not exist, my concept may be fictional, it could exist. It is not intellectually self-contradictory. Contemplating this possibility of a lateral arrangement of worlds, a plurality of overlapping Earths along whose linking axis a person can somehow move, can travel in a mysterious way from worse to fair to good to excellent, contemplating this in theological terms, perhaps we could say that herewith we suddenly decipher the elliptical utterances which Christ expressed regarding the kingdom of God, specifically where it is located. He seems to have given contradictory and puzzling answers. But suppose, just suppose for an instant, that the cause of the perplexity lay not in any desire on his part to baffle or to hide, but in the inadequacy of the question. My kingdom is not of this world, he is reported to have said. The kingdom is within you, or possibly it is among you. I put before you now the notion, which I personally find exciting, that he may have had in mind that which I speak of as the lateral axis of overlapping realms, which contain among them a spectrum of aspects ranging from the unspeakably malignant to the beautiful. And Christ was saying over and over again that there really are many objective realms, somehow related, and somehow bridgeable by living, not dead men, and that the most wondrous of these worlds was a just kingdom. in which either he himself or God himself or both of them rule. And he did not merely speak of a variety of ways of subjectively viewing one world. The kingdom was and is an actual different place at the opposite end of continua, starting with slavery and utter pain. It was his mission to teach his disciples the secret of crossing along this orthogonal path. He did not merely report what lay there. He taught the method of getting there. But tragically, the secret was lost. The enemy, the Roman authority, crushed it. And so we do not have it. But perhaps we can re-find it, since we know that such a secret exists. The kingdom is ever to be established here on earth, or whether it is a place or state we go to after death. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that this issue has been a fundamental one and an unresolved one throughout the history of Christianity. Christ and St. Paul both seem to say emphatically that an actual breaking through into time, that is specifically what they say, a breaking through into time, into our world, by the host of God, will unexpectedly occur. Thereupon, after some exciting drama, a 1,000-year paradise, a rightful kingdom will be established, at least for those who have done their homework and chores and generally paid attention, have not gone to sleep, as one parable puts it. We are enjoined repeatedly in the New Testament to be vigilant, that for the Christian it is always day. There is always light by which he can see this event when it comes. See this event. Does that imply that many persons who are somehow asleep or blind or not vigilant, they will not see it even though it occurs? Consider the significance which can be assigned to these notions. The kingdom will come here unexpectedly. This is always stressed. The rightful faithful shall see it because for them it is always daytime. But for the others, what seems expressed here is the paradoxical but enthralling thought that, and hear this and ponder, the kingdom, were it established here, would not be visible to those outside it. I offer the idea that in more modern terms, what is meant that some of us will travel laterally to that better world and some will not. They will remain stuck along the lateral axis, which means that for them the kingdom did not come, not in their alternative world. And yet, meantime, it did come in ours. So it comes, and yet it does not come. Amazing. If you've followed my conjectures about the overlapping of these alternate worlds, and you sense as I do the possibility that if there are 3 or 4 or 2, there may be 30 or 3,000 of them, and that some of us live in this one, others of us in another one, others in others, and that events on one track cannot be perceived by persons not in that track. Well, let me say what I want to say and be done with it. I think I once experienced a track in which the Savior returned, but I experienced it just briefly. I am not there now. I'm not sure I ever was. Certainly I may never be again. I grieve for that loss, but loss it is. Somehow I moved laterally, but then fell back, and then it was gone. A vanished mountain and a stream, the sound of bells, and all gone now for me, entirely gone. I, in my stories and novels, often write about counterfeit worlds, semi-real worlds, as well as deranged private worlds, inhabited often by just one person, while meantime the other characters either remain in their own worlds throughout or are somehow drawn into one of the peculiar ones. This theme occurs in the corpus of my 27 years of writing. At no time did I have a theoretical or conscious explanation for my preoccupation with these pluriform pseudo-worlds, but now I think I understand. What I was sensing was the manifold of partially actualized realities lying tangent to what evidently is the most actualized one, the one which the majority of us, by consensus gentium, agree on. Although originally I presumed that the differences between these worlds was caused entirely by the subjectivity of the various human viewpoints, it did not take me long to open the question as to whether it might not be more than that in fact plural realities did exist superimposed onto one another like so many film transparencies. What I still do not grasp, however, is how one reality out of the many becomes actualized in contradistinction to the others. Perhaps none does, Or perhaps, again, it hangs on an agreement in viewpoint by a sufficiency of people. More likely, the matrix world, the one with the true core of being, is determined by the programmer. He or it articulates, prints out, so to speak, the matrix choice and fuses it with actual substance, the core or essence of reality, that which receives or attains it, and to what degree. That is within the purview of the programmer. This selection and reselection is part of general creativity, of world building, which seems to be it or his task. A problem, perhaps, which he or it is running, which is to say, in the process of solving, as a computer would. Variables along the linear time axis of our universe, thereby generating branched off lateral worlds. I have the impression that the metaphor of the chessboard is especially useful in evaluating how this can be done. In fact, must be. Across from the programmer-reprogrammer sits a counter entity, whom Joseph Campbell calls the dark counterplayer. God, the programmer-reprogrammer, is not making his moves of improvement against inert matter. He is dealing with a cunning opponent. Let us say that on the game board, our universe in space-time, the dark counterplayer makes a move. He sets up a reality situation of immutable cause and effect. But the programmer-reprogrammer has already laid down his response. It has already happened, these moves on his part. The printout, which we undergo as historic events, passes through stages of a dialectical interaction, thesis and antithesis, as the forces of the two players mingle. Evidently, some syntheses fall to the dark counterplayer, and yet they do not, by virtue of the fact that in advance, our great advocate selected variables, the alternation of which brings final victory to him. In winning each sequence in turn, he claims some of us, we who participate in the sequence. This is why instinctively people pray, Libera me Domine, which decodes to mean, extricate me, programmer, as you achieve one victory after another. Include me in that triumph. Move me along the lateral axis so that I am not left out. Sense as being left out means nothing other than remaining under the jurisdiction of or falling prey to the malignant power. But that malignant power, for all its guile, has already lost even as it wins. For in some way, the counterplayer is blind, and so the programmer-reprogrammer possesses an advantage. I submit to you that such alterations, the creation or selection of such so-called alternative presence, is continually taking place. The very fact that we can conceptually deal with this notion, that is, entertain it as an idea, is the first step in discerning such processes themselves. But I doubt if we will ever be able in any real fashion to demonstrate, to scientifically prove that such lateral change processes do occur. Probably all we would have to go on would be vestiges of memory, fleeting impressions, dreams, nebulous intuitions that somehow things had been different in some way, and not long ago, but now. We might reflexively reach for a light switch in the bathroom only to discover that it always had been in another place entirely. We might reach for the air vent in our car where there was no air vent, a reflex left over from a previous present, still active at a subcortical level. We might dream of people and places we had never seen as vividly as if we had seen them and actually known them. But we would not know what to make of this, assuming we took time to ponder it at all. One very pronounced impression would probably occur to us, to many of us, again and again, and always without explanation. The acute, absolute sensation that we had done once before, what we were just about to do now, that we, so to speak, lived in a particular moment or situation previously. But in what sense could it be called previously, since only the present, not the past, was evidently involved? We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, Perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words, I submit that these impressions are valid and significant. And I will even say this, such an impression is a clue that at some past time point, a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this, an alternative world branched off, became actualized instead of the prior one, and that in fact, in literal fact, we are once more living this particular segment of linear time. A breaching, a tinkering, a change had been made, but not in our present, had been made in our past. Evidently, such an alteration would have a peculiar effect on those persons involved. They would, so to speak, be moved back one square or several squares on the board game which constitutes our reality. Conceivably, this could happen any number of times, affecting any number of people, as alternative variables were reprogrammed. We would have to live out each reprogramming along a subsequent linear time axis. But to the programmer, whom we call God, to him the results of the programming would be apparent at once. We are within time, and he is not. I wish to ad lib. We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. This, too, might account for the sensation people get of having lived past lives. They may well have, but not in the past. Previous lives, rather, in the present, in perhaps an unending repeated and repeated present, like a great clock dial in which grand clock hands sweep out the same circumference forever, with all of us carried along unknowingly, yet dimly suspecting. Since at the resolution of every encounter of thesis and antithesis between the dark counterplayer and the divine programmer, a new synthesis is struck off. And since it is possible that each time this happens, a lateral world may be generated, and since I conceive that each synthesis or resolution is in some degree a victory by the programmer, each struck off world in sequence must be an improvement upon not just the prior one, but an improvement upon all the latent or merely possible outcomes. It is a better world, but in no sense perfect, which is to say final. It is merely an improved stage within a process. What I envision clearly is that the programmer is perpetually using the antecedent universe as a gigantic stockpile for each new synthesis. The antecedent universe then possessing the aspect of chaos or anomie in relation to an emerging new cosmos. Therefore, the endless process of sequential struck-off alternate worlds emerging and being infused with actualization is negentropic in some way that we cannot see. What we need at this point is to locate, to bring forth as evidence, someone who has managed somehow, it doesn't matter how, to retain memories of a different present, latent alternate world impressions, different in some significant way from this, the one which is at this stage actualized. According to my theoretical view, it would almost certainly be memories of a worse world than this. For it is not reasonable that God the programmer and reprogrammer would substitute a worse world in terms of freedom or beauty or love or order or healthiness by any standard which we know. When a mechanic works on your malfunctioning car, he does not damage it further. When a writer creates a second draft of a novel, he does not debase it further, but strives to improve it. I suppose it could be argued in a strictly theoretical way that God might be evil or insane and would in fact substitute a worse world for a better one. But frankly, I cannot take that idea seriously. Let us pass that over. So let us ask, does any one of us remember in any dim fashion a worse Earth circa 1977 than this? Have our young men seen visions and our old men dreamed dreams? Nightmare dreams specifically about a world of enslavement and evil, of prisons and jailers and ubiquitous police. I have. I wrote out these dreams in novel after novel, story after story. To name two in which this prior ugly present obtained most clearly, I cite The Man in the High Castle and my 1974 novel about the U.S. as a police state, called Flow My Tears, the Policeman Said. I'm going to be very candid with you. I wrote both novels based on fragmentary residual memories of such a horrid slave state world. Or perhaps the term world is the wrong one, and I should say United States, since in both novels I was writing about my own country. I could even tell you what caused me to remember. In late February of 1974, I was given sodium pentothal for the extraction of impacted wisdom teeth. Later that day, back home again, but still deeply under the influence of the sodium pentothal, I had a short, acute flash of recovered memory. In one instant, I caught it all, but immediately rejected it. Rejected it, however, with the realization that what I had retrieved in the way of buried memories was authentic. Then, in mid-March, a month later, the total body of memories, intact and entire, began to return. You are free to believe me or to disbelieve, but please take my word on it that I am not joking. This is very serious, a matter of importance. I am sure that at the very least you will agree that for me, even to claim this is in itself amazing. People claim to remember past lives. I claim to remember a different, very different present life. I know of no one who has ever made this claim before, but I rather suspect that my experience is not unique. What perhaps is unique is the fact that I am willing to talk about it. If you have followed me this far, I would like you to be kind enough to go a little further with me. I would like to share with you something I knew that is retrieved along with the blocked off memories. In March of 1974, the reprogrammed variables tinkered with back at some earlier date, probably in the late 40s. In March of 1974, the payoff, the results of at least one and possibly more of the reprogrammed variables lying along the linear timeline of our past set in. What happened between March and August of 1974 was the result of at least one reprogrammed variable laid down perhaps 30 years before, setting into motion a thread of change which culminated in what I am sure you will admit was a spectacularly important and unique historical event, the forced removal from office of the President of the United States, Richard Nixon, as well as all those associated with him. In the alternative world which I remembered, the civil rights movements, the anti-war movements of the 60s had failed, and evidently, in the mid-70s, Nixon was not removed from power. That which opposed him, if anything indeed existed that did oppose him or could oppose him, was inadequate. Therefore, one or more factors tending toward that destruction of the entrenched tyrannical power had retroactively to us come to be introduced. The scales, 30 years later, in it had been 2,000 years ago at its inception. It was regarded as subversive and revolutionary, and let me add, this appraisal by the police authorities was correct. It took me almost 2 weeks after the return of my memories of my life in Track A to rid myself of the overpowering impression that all references to Christ, all sacerdotal acts, had to be veiled in absolute secrecy. But historically, this fits the pattern of a fascist takeover, especially those along Nazi lines. I also would like to tell you, if you have followed me this far, to accept my statement about my other memories under the sodium pentothal, which returned. That world was a prison. It was dreadful. We overthrew it, just as we overthrew the Nixon tyranny, but it was far more cruel, incredibly so, and there was a great battle and loss of life. It was in February of 1974 that my blocked off memories of Track A returned, and it was in February of 1974 that my novel, Flow My Tears, the Policeman Said, was released finally after two years delay. It was almost as if the release of the novel, which had been delayed so long, meant that in a certain sense it was all right for me to remember. That is, to remember that the book was not fiction. The book was based on subliminal memories which I had of such a world. But perhaps until the book was actually released, it was better that I did not remember. Why that would be, I do not know. But I have the impression that the memories were not to come to the surface until the material had been published very sincerely on the author's part as what he believed to be fiction. Perhaps had I known, I would have been too frightened to write the novel. As it was, I was very frightened anyway. There was something about the novel that frightened me a great deal. Or perhaps I would have just shot off my mouth and told everybody and somehow interfered with the effectiveness of that book and such other books of mine as Man in the High Castle, which were also based on residual memories. The effectiveness of those novels might have been impaired. I do not even claim there was an intended effectiveness. Perhaps there was none at all. But if there was one, and I repeat the word if emphatically, it was almost certainly to stir subliminal memories in readers back to dim life, not a conscious life, not an entering consciousness as in my own case, but to recall to them on a deep and profound, albeit unconscious level, what a police tyranny is like and how vital it is now or then, at any time, along any time track, in any world, to defeat it. In March of 1974, the really crucial moves to depose Nixon were beginning. In August, 5 months later, they proved successful. It seems to me that in many ways, ideas have a life of their own. They appear to seize on people and make use of them. The idea which seized me 27 years ago and never let go of me is this. Any society in which people meddle in other people's business is not a good society, and a state in which the government, quote, knows more about you than you know about yourself, as it is expressed in my novel, Flow My Tears, a Policeman Said, is a state which must be overthrown. It may be a theocracy, a fascist corporate state, or reactionary monopolistic capitalism, or centralistic socialism. That aspect does not matter. And I am saying not merely it can happen here, meaning the United States, but rather it did happen here, meaning the United States. I remember I was one of the secret Christians who fought it and at least to some extent helped overthrow it. And I am very proud of that, proud of myself in Time Track A. When I use the word Christian there, I do not mean Christians as they are now. I mean Christians as they were, say, 2,000 years ago, enemies of a powerful empire. When I saw Star Wars this morning, I thought to myself, deja vu. There is, unfortunately, for me, a somber intimation which accompanies my pride in the work that I did in that alternate Earth. I think that in that previous world, I did not live past March of 1974. In this track here, which I will call track B, we fought a much lighter tyranny, a far stupider one. Or perhaps we had assistance. The anterior reprogramming of one or more historical variables came to our rescue. Sometimes I think, and this is of course pure speculation, a happy fantasy of my soul, that because of what we accomplished there, or anyhow attempted to and very bravely, we who were directly involved were allowed to live on here, past the terminal point which brought us down in that other worse world. It is a sort of miraculous kindness. This gracious gift serves to delineate for us, for me at least, some aspects of the programming. It causes me to comprehend him after a fashion. I think we cannot know what he is, but we can experience his functioning, and so can ask, what does he resemble? Not what is he, but rather what is he like? First and foremost, he controls the objects, processes, and events in our space-time world. This is for us the primary aspect, although intrinsically he may possess aspects of greater magnitude but of less applicability to us. I have spoken of myself as a reprogrammed variable, and I have spoken of him as the programmer and reprogrammer. During a short period of time in March of 1974, at the moment in which I was re-synthesized, I was aware perceptually, which is to say aware in an external way of his presence. At that time, I had no idea what I was seeing. It resembled nothing that I had ever heard described. It resembled plasmic energy. It had colors. It moved fast. It collected and then dispersed. But what it was, what he was, I am not sure even now. Except I can tell you that he had simulated normal objects and their processes so as to copy them, and in such an artful way as to make himself invisible within them. As the Vedantas put it, he is the fire within the flint, the razor within the razor case. Later research showed me that in terms of group cultural experience, the name Brahman has been given to this omnipresent, immanent entity. One thing I really want you to know, I am aware that the claims I am making, claims of having retrieved buried memories of an alternate present and to have perceived the agency responsible for arranging that alternation, these claims can neither be proved nor can they be even made to sound rational in the usual sense of the word. It has taken me over 3 years to reach the point where I am willing to tell anyone but my closest friends about my experience beginning back at the vernal equinox of 1974. One of the reasons motivating me to speak about it publicly at last, to openly make this claim, is a recent encounter I have undergone, which, by the way, bears a strange resemblance to Hawthorne Abinson's experience in my novel, The Man in the High Castle, with the woman Juliana Frink. Juliana read Abinson's book about a world in which Germany and Japan and Italy. Now, this is a little difficult if you haven't read the book, but he wrote a novel in which Germany, Italy, and Japan lost World War II, and he was living in a world in which they had won World War II. Juliana read Abinson's book about a world in which the Axis lost, and she felt she should tell him what she comprehended about the book. In other words, that his novel was true. Now, this final scene in Man in the High Castle has been the source for a similar scene in my later story, Faith of Our Fathers, where the girl Tanya Lee shows up and acquaints the protagonist with the actual reality situation, which is to say that much of his world is delusional and purposefully so. In other words, it's a common theme in my writing that a dark-haired girl shows up at the door of the protagonist and tells him that his world is delusional, that there's something false about it. Now, in Man in the High Castle, the situation is ironically reversed. The girl that comes to the door tells an author that his book of fiction is true. For several years, I've had the feeling, a growing feeling, that one day a woman who would be a complete stranger to me would contact me and tell me that she had some information to impart to me, and then she would appear at my door just as Juliana appeared at Hawthorne Abinson's door, and that forthwith, in the gravest possible way, she would tell me exactly what Juliana told Abinson, and that is that my book, like his, was in a certain real, literal, and physical sense not fiction but the truth. Well, this did finally happen to me. I even knew that her hair would be black. I had an actual complete sense of what she would look like and what she would say. Door. And I'm speaking of a woman who had systematically read every single novel of mine, which is more than 30 novels, as well as many of my stories. She did appear. She was a total stranger, and she did inform me of this fact, that some of my fictional works were in a literal sense true. Now, I had posited in 1974, when my memories of this alternate world came back, that if these memories were authentic, that it was only a matter of time before a contact, a cautious, guarded probing by someone would occur, initiated by a person who read my books and for one reason or another reduced the actual situation. I mean, knew what the significant information was which the books and stories carried. Now, this woman knew from my novels and stories which world I had experienced, which of the many. What she could not determine until I told her was that in February of 1975, I had passed across into a third alternative present, third one, track C, we will call it. And this was a garden or park of peace and beauty, a world superior to ours, rising into existence to her of three rather than two worlds. The black iron prison world, which had been our intermediate world in which oppression and war exist but have to a great degree been cast down, and then a third alternative world which someday, when the correct variables in our past have been reprogrammed, will materialize as a superimposition onto this one, and within which, as we awaken to it, we shall suppose that we had always lived there. The memory of this intermediate one, like that of the black iron prison world, eradicated mercifully from our memories. The best that I can really do at this point, after having had these experiences and written these novels, is to play the role of prophet, of ancient prophets and such oracles as the Sibyl at Delphi, and to talk of a wonderful garden world, much like that which once our ancestors are said to have inhabited. In fact, I sometimes imagine it to be exactly that same world restored, as if a false trajectory of our world will eventually be fully corrected, and once more we will be where once many thousands of years ago we lived and were happy. During the brief time I walked about in that garden world, I had the strong impression that it was our legitimate home, which somehow we had lost. The time I spent there was short, about 6 hours of real elapsed time, but I remember it well. In the novel I wrote with Roger Zelazny, Deus Irae, I describe it toward the end, at the point where the curse is lifted from the world by the death. What's amazing to me about this park-like world, this track C, was the non-Christian elements forming the basis of it. It was not what my Christian training had prepared me for at all. Even when it began to phase out, I still saw sky, I saw land and dark blue smooth water, and standing by the edge of the water, a beautiful nude woman whom I recognized as Aphrodite. At that point, this other better world had diminished to a mere landscape beyond the golden rectangle doorway. The outline of the doorway pulsed with laser-like light, and it all grew smaller and was at last gone from sight. The 3 to 5 doorway, devouring itself into nothingness, sealing off what lay beyond. I have not seen it since, but I had the firm impression that this was the next world, not of the Christians, but the Arcady of the Greco-Roman world, something older and more beautiful than that which my own religion can conjure up as a lure to keep us in a state of dutiful morality and faith. What I saw was very old and very lovely. Sky, sea, land, and a beautiful woman, and then nothing, for the door had shut, and I was closed off back here. It was with a bitter sense of loss that I saw her go, really, since it all constellated about her. Aphrodite, I discovered when I
Okay, I'm here. Dennis Branch. I don't know who that is. Oh, that's guy watching Dennis.
And in my case, somewhere with 99%.
I think that's guy watching Dennis. Hey, if that's you, if it's say Passage of Israel, hey, how are you, brother? I think I'm gonna end this stream, but I'm gonna bring another stream back, called Spooky Dookie. Oh yeah. Hey. Okay, that's guy watching Dennis. Okay, man. Hey, how you doing? How you doing, brother? How you doing? Long time no chat. think I subscribed to your channel, I think, and I'm not sure. Did I? Yeah, I subscribed to your channel like a day or two ago. I'm blessed by the light every day. Amen, brother. But you kind of get this video I was playing. Um, kind of like going through another dimension or something. Cause I feel like that, with the way people is now, and it's like still feeding stray cats too. That's what's up. They your cats, man. You don't want to see them. Yeah, yeah, mama. Hold on one second. You got to go. Everyone's saying great light now. Okay, I'm back. I'm back, Skywatcher. Yes, I was getting your video. You were playing. I don't like to keep my head in a box. If you know what I mean. Amen. Stand in truth, right? Stand in truth. That's where you stand. The world take you on a journey where you take yourself on a journey. But I played that video because it reminded me of, yeah, back to what I was about to say about how it seems like um was labeled as common sense, but I think it's greater than common sense. But it's like it's gone. It's like I went through a portal or something. Where you try to tell a person, not that you know, but I try to tell a person, hey, I'm not saying this in a way to get you or to pick at you or I made a mistake in how I said it. May I please correct myself or something, right? But it's like once it's said, it's like it's on. It's off. Like things go off. Like they go off or we go off. And I'm like, man, it's so easy to solve this stuff. Like it's so easy to solve it. You got the wrong person. Like it's easy, right? But like that feeling that everybody else is on a different frequency. Yeah, or page. I'm like, what happened? Like, did I go somewhere else or something like because of my ways and because I chose to try to be a part of the world or I did worldly things? Is it that's how I got over here or there? Or, I'm like, what happened? Like, I was like, what happened? And I would ask my loved ones, I was like, do y'all know what happened? They like, no. I'm like, y'all don't feel like y'all somewhere else? I mean, it looked like the same place, looked like the same people. But when you're talking with them, it's like it's not the same person. Like I woke up somewhere else or something. Sometimes I think we switch several times a day. We just don't remember. Yeah. Yeah, I was on this other stream. I think yesterday he was talking about how the light flickers, how we are the illuminated, and we can't see we illuminated because we are the illuminated itself, and so we are seeing it. We just maybe don't recognize it as that. And he was like, we flicker sometimes. That kind of remind me of what you just said. Sometimes I think we switch several times. But, yeah, God is amazing. Yeah, I feel what you're saying. Never thought of it that way, but I kind of feel you. Binary code, ones and zeros. Now I kind of get it though. If you go off the way you're thinking, or the way I'm thinking, I'm up, I'm down, I'm happy, I'm sad, happy, I'm sad, and that might be flickering. And I gotta stay in the joy of the Lord. I remember when the sun was purple and it switched back. If I were still asleep, they would think I'm crazy. The program, right, or the script, or the one plus one is two, not three. So we could think you crazy, you telling us it's three, right? Can they tell me? And that's kind of cool. Oh, hey Canada, I almost didn't recognize you there. Hey Canada, honey. I feel the same way though. It's like when you tell your truth that the sky is green and the grass is blue. People, one plus one is two. You telling us it's three, right? It's like you off track, like you off beat, and a song is naturally green. What comes after the question? What color is the grass? Green. So that's a song. What color is the grass? Green. 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 So when you say blue, it's like the song don't make sense to them no more. Like you off beat or something. Yeah, it's like a switch. Yeah, I feel it. Your mic is really low. Yeah, man. Canada. I mean, I went to Wacky World, and ever since I went to Wacky World, um, the 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 overseer over there at Wacky World be adjusting my mic and all kind of stuff. I think Dennis he might know about Wacky World, but I don't see Dennis over there no more. And Wacky World said it herself that she was like my friends don't come around no more like Skywatcher Dennis. Yeah, we don't have to explain why and stuff. You know, if you don't want to, don't. Oh, it's okay. But it's obvious, you know, it's strange fruit, right? Like, mm, it's obviously strange fruit. Yeah, like a switch, right? You tell them the grass is blue, they'll switch off. They'll switch off. You tell them it's green, they'll switch on. So when I was little, I couldn't distinguish blue from green. Blue and green was the same color to me. So red and orange was the same color too. Still is though, eh? Still is. The program, right? The song, keeping a song on track. So they'll say, "Reach me the orange one or the red one, right?" And I'll point to the red one, though the orange one looks red too. So I pick up the red one to stay on, keep the song on beat, right? The program. Or I point to the orange one and they'll say, "No, the red one." And I say, "Oh, this the red one." So it's like I'm helping to keep the song on track. One plus one is two. You have one plus one plus one plus two. Mm, one plus one is two plus the one plus plus the one two plus the other. Yeah, the fourth wall is the opposite. Who would have known that this rainbow stuff and learning how to point out colors stuff is leading us somewhere we ain't want to go? Magic. That's what I always say. Well, you think one thing, you're hallucinating, right? I'm on my way to be successful. Blue is blue, green is green. One plus one is two, right? But yet it's something else. It's like it's something else going on. Hallucinating or illusion. Or it is what it is. I was assuming. I was assuming what I thought it. It looks to make one wise, right? It appears to make one wise, and it looks good for food. Sometimes I'm there hiding in food. Okay, all right, between me and you. Right? I feel you. I feel you. Lord knows. Lord help us. It's strange fruit, man. It's just that's all I can say. It's just strange fruit. on by their foot. Hmm. I think what else? I really went listening to the video I just played because I was talking to a neighbor, but I listened to part of it before I put it on, so I kind of get an idea. Because it kind of remind me of my life. Like I go through a portal or something. Well, I feel like I think I'm in the same place, but it's like it's different people here or something. It looked like the same place. Wow, it's probably so advanced or so amazing because God is amazing, and it's so amazing that it's like you can't even think of it or fathom it unless He reveal it to you. I guess it's like it's greater than what any man could tell you. And so still have mental blocks for when I was young. Yeah, most of us do. I think. And most of us don't remember. Like I talk to people about when they learn how to spell, or before they learn how to spell, do they remember? And most people don't remember. Frequency, right? Tone. So I'm singing an English song, right? An English tone, and it should be connected to where you're going, right? Okay, he say I was listening to the video for a few minutes. Okay, some are about numbers. But you're a musical man. You trying to feel what you're saying, Canada. Um, what like they're about what's called money, a dollar. So I feel like some people are just part of the playing board, like the white and the black chick or the chess. Yeah, I think the guy in the video mentioned something like that, like the chessboard. I feel like some people are just part of the playing, like the white and black chick. Yeah, it's like it's greater than what you could be educated to think it is. Or it's more amazing than amazing. I say it like that because I think I've seen amazing things. And it's very well more amazing than that. Some about the numbers. See if they like ratings and statistics and stuff. I don't know. Oh, views and yeah, views and statistics. The more the merrier type thing, I guess. be happy with the gap, but I guess you can't really see numbers like that. Mm. I used to collect CDs, so I think I kind of get it now, right? I was about the numbers of CDs I had, so I think I kind of get it. I think I get the feeling. Playing board is where we are now. What was made for us by the Lord. Yeah, the school that's greater than any school. Right now, right? That's what the name of the video is. What now? Now is no. Now is no everything. Yeah, they always tell us we have no power. That must mean we have great power by the light. I think knowing that you're the one in your senses, right? And everyone you ever seen within your senses or heard, and I think that's it. They give us the solar system so we can't see ourselves. And we assume we on a ball of space and our sun is far away from us. And God is somewhere in those galaxies taking care of another earth or something. Like he forgot about us. Like it's so much. It's kind of like your mommy and daddy got to go through a war zone or a maze to get home. So you're having a party and you're wilding out, and you know your mama and daddy got to go through this maze or this war zone to get home. So you think you can party while they're away, or while God is away. You may think, yeah, we can clean up the house before God get back. Foolishness, basically, foolishness. So you could think God got to go through all these galaxies to get to Earth to watch us. But I was growing up, I was like, but if I can see in the sunlight, then God can see in the sunlight like a child, right? Well, I am a child, but when I was younger. But now that's what it's doing. Yeah, that's what I be telling them, Dennis. I be like, you won, even though it's backwards to me. Like, yeah, I ain't got no job. My wife left me. I peed in the bed when I was 14. You won. You better than me, right? Like, backwards is won. So I tell them, you won. Like, I don't want to do this with you. Like, who could talk the most junk to each other and who could say the worst things to one another, man? I don't want nothing to do with that. Complicate emulation. emulation what God don't want us doing, and competition, boasting over wins or losses, climbing on top of each other in the spirit. Yeah, something wrong with that stuff. I used to think it was fun. I was over there trying to fit in and playing the John Madden football games and stuff and trying to win and winning and think I am. Maybe that's when we take off or something. But, hmm. It ain't nothing to boast about when you're the only one that can see what you boasting about. We need to lift one another up. It's not climb over the top of each other. Or say to that mountain move, it will move. So I agree we need to lift one another up. And that's what I do, right? I feel I'm doing where I say you won. I would say you won. And I'm trying to boost them up. Nowadays they be like, I say, I'm coming down under you. I don't want to be better than you. They say, I'm coming down under you. I'm like, oh my goodness. No, don't do it this way. Oh my goodness. When you trying to boost them up, you give them a lift like you would do your little baby to get in the chair, lift them up or boost them up in the chair. And the baby talking about, no, I'm coming down under you. Like, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I thought you wanted to get up in the chair. Like, it's sad where it's great though, because it's like I don't want to win. Like I don't want to win either way. Oh, well, thank you. At least we're not emulating it. Well, kinda. So you trying to slide down under me? Like I don't know. Like let's just stand here and be one. Be one. Oh, yeah, like, I don't want that high place, Wayne. I kind of feel you. Um, you don't want the high place, huh? I feel you. So they eventually come around. I see. I think my loved ones, friends, neighbors, family. Like my family say Great Light now, and some others in the neighborhood they say Great Light. I'm like, wow. So I'm spreading the Great Light, right? Like, or he's spreading it. I'm just trying to remind you of it, keep you in the memory of the light. And if you read the scripture again, when you get to the Great Light in the heavens, you might like, oh, why ain't he saying that? Just trying to keep you in remembrance of how you see by the power of God. How you see second place means you try harder. They be trying to put me in first place. Man, if they oh, they like first place, worldly first place. That is. It's like if you dare, whether willingly or accidentally, a goat would try to headbutt you off the mountain. Like he try to headbutt you off that hill because you what he say don't exalt yourself. So it's kind of like you exalting yourself up on that hill, and a billy goat want to head with you, a headbutt you off of that hill. So since I decided to what it's called a base, those that exalt themselves will be a base, right? So I will base myself, and they'll put me on the hill anyway. I'm not like, no, no, no. Like my wife left me. I don't have a car, right? In the hood, that's the stuff people proud of, right? I don't have a car. I'm like, no, don't put me up there. Like, so one of my friends say, God, we want us to put ourselves down. And, well, Jesus said those that exalt themselves will be abased, right? Don't take the half share, take the low share. Those that don't exalt themselves will be exalted. So I would put myself down, and they would wonder why. Like, why you doing it? Because I don't want to win this foolishness with you. I don't want to win this stuff. Like, yeah, you do the stuff for 20, 30 years, and it's like it don't never get boring or something. Or something. Like, I'm good, y'all. I'm good. All around the world, same song. I'm good. Like you already know the script, right? Like, ain't nothing to be proud of. Like you got a video game and you play all your neighborhood friends and you always win. It ain't nothing to be proud of. Eventually, you don't have nobody to play with. Useless. I don't want to win this stuff with y'all. It treat me like I'm a black man. I ain't no black man. Coming at me with that stuff, y'all. Please, I don't know the game. I'm not streetwise. I don't have street knowledge. At least not much. But, I don't want nothing to do with that stuff. They like you is at the top. You is winning, and I'm like, how? I'm like, how? What? Oh my goodness. You is Nino Brown. I don't know if you know about New Jack City, but they be treating me like I'm Nino Brown, bro, and I be like, I'm not Nino. Forgive me, right? I watched New Jack City and thought I liked it, seen a character named Nino Brown, and I thought he was cool. I thought he was the man, and I just took some of his characterism and you know, and just acted it. It's like, forgive me. I asked him, please forgive me. I shouldn't have never came to you with fake Nino Brown. Shouldn't have never did that. I'm not Nino Brown. They like, you is Nino. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't want nothing to do with this stuff, y'all. But I kind of get it. I kind of get it. I should have never came at you with something I seen on a movie. You is Nino. No, I'm not. You said sit your $5 ass down before I make change. I mean, I got that from a movie. I mean, you really think I'm Nino Brown for real? Like, like, oh my goodness, bro. Don't idol worship. I got you, Father. I got you, Lord. These people think you Nino Brown for real, Wayne. I see. I see. Whew. You got to be joyful though, man, because where else will you see the things you see, whether good or bad? Where else would you see them but in your own life? And like it's the only place to see it is where you are. So it's like I have to be joyful, man. That he gave me this 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 place to see what he said, which is his word. Like the greatest gift of all, to receive gifts from others. The greatest gift of all is to be here to witness his word. Where else would you be? I don't make me your idol. That's what you used to tell me. Don't worship me. Only worship your father. That sound like what he said to Satan. Only worship, only worship. I can't think of it. Your father in heaven, your Lord, your Lord God. Yeah, right. Don't don't put me on the hill. See see your father in heaven. Don't worship me. Worship the Lord thy God. Right. I should tell them. Yeah, but I got a feeling what they gonna say is Skywatch. They gonna say nobody worshiping you. Like I try to hint, you know, and stuff. I try to hint like certain people. I won't say names. He want my man excuse. And I'm like, stop chasing me, bro. You trying to holler at me, bro. I don't want nothing to do with that. Come on, Wayne. You think I'm trying to holler at you? You think I'm, yeah, you getting your holler on. That's how you get a man. Like, realizing he there's something wrong with him. How you make him your man. it seems like you're having fun, don't it? Like, woo, you know, they like to shoot you down. No, I'm not having fun. Well, what? Why would we do this? Like, well, I was standing dumpster with you while I'm standing in dumpsters with you, Wayne. And I'm like, huh? You heard what I said. Well, I do not get what you're saying. Hey, you won't do what? I will not stand in dumpsters with you while I stand in them with you. I don't know what you're saying, man. Okay, I think you elaborate on it. When they put you higher than themselves, that's like an idol, right? Yeah. It's also like a setup, so to try to knock you off, like the game Jenga or something. They're going to say you ain't nobody. Worshiping you, yet they seek you out. Yeah. It's weird, ain't it? It's like eating a lemon and it tastes like sugar. I'm like, you sure it's a lemon? They're like, yeah, it is. It's sad. Like what I would say, don't jump off the roof on your head. And they'll say, I'll show you how to do it. And I'm like, what? Like, please, no, like, don't, don't do it. You're saying do it? No, like, Lord, no. Wayne, stop saying stuff like that to people, okay? Like, it's like God say, don't tell them not to do stuff crazy. They're gonna do something crazy. Oh my goodness. Could you please stop chasing me? I'm not chasing you. Can we please try this a different way? You don't have to talk junk. Just regular talk is junk to some people. Well, he said they would. He said he would place a table at our foot or our feet, and they would come and worship. Hmm. Feet to be featured. Place a table at my feet. Hmm. Excuse me. God winking at you. Yeah, yeah. Like when he smiles. To me, when the light smiling, or it gets brighter when I'm sharing His word to people, and the sun will get brighter, and I'll be like, "You see that?" And be like, "Yeah, I see it." I call it He's smiling on. He's smiling down on. And it's happened more than 20 times since I've been walking up and down my sidewalk. I haven't done it in a while the way I used to. I used to walk up and down the sidewalk and share my message. And sometimes a person would come and talk to me, and I share my message in more detail with them in person, and the light would get brighter. And I'm like, ah. And it's been going on for like 5 years or more now, or less. And my brother did that, and I banged my head on the wall when I learned it. Hold on, let me get what you're saying, Cowboy. Lord have mercy. They keep saying on me and my brother. Did good. I changed I banged my head on the wall when I landed. I'm trying to get what you're responding to, Jenny. I just be going. I might have two, three subjects in my head. But let me see. They did good. I don't know if you're speaking in parables or you're talking about literal bang your head on a physical wall. Let me think about it. What did I say? I was talking about jumping off. Oh, okay. Off the roof, always behind. Okay, I was talking about jumping off the roof, always behind in the chat. Yeah, it takes a few moments to get to me. I'm caught up now. Every time you go to write something, it fits you. It fits you that far behind in the chat. Talking about jumping off the roof, always behind in it. Caught up now. Every time you go to write something, it fits you that far behind in the chat. Yeah, yeah, I get what you're saying. My response to your chat, it seems far down the road, but I got my other one. Look at this one. Yeah, I think it pops right up on this. Like a 10-second delay or so, 20-second delay for the host, but those that's watching with you can see it right away. You still there? Excuse me. So they say one in the chat, and I'm in the chat too, so I don't know if it's me or someone else. Excuse me, y'all. Okay. Now I would say zero on my string yard. Where else would you be? But where you are, your life is true. I show one person here. Never mind. Now it says zero. Ain't that something? Guess we can't really go by that. Cause I'm in the chat too, but it just say one on my end. On my YouTube and on my live stream it say 0. Kind of grateful I looked down on myself in the past of my life, and so I didn't really want to go up to high places because I was get shamed from my burns and stuff, and I never wanted to act like I was better than other people because I was burned up. I'm like, how can I be better than other people that's not burned up? I'm burned. So I didn't never want to try to try to be up in that high place. You finally get to the bottom, you're a 0. Yay. It's like what I'm saying right now. I'm kind of grateful for being a 0 now. It kept me from being prideful. God sent the evil spirit to the Son of Man so he wouldn't be prideful. It was rough though, looking down on myself. You know, I was in the dump for a long time. He raised me up, or he showed me the light, as he always has. But he say, "What I show you is true." Like, okay, yes, amen, brother. That's the life he gives us. It's wonderful. It's full of wonder. Yes, yes, it is. It's like it pays off to not follow all the ways of the world, though I have had some playing video games, movies, having more than one friend. You know. But it pays off when you finally get it. Why he ain't want me in the street? Why he ain't want me to have a lot of friends? If you know what I mean. When um I get it now. Faith, salvation, grace and mercy. I didn't know what these things was until I witnessed it. Until he showed me, right? What he say, what I show you is true. And then I got what grace was. When the sun and the moon go across the sky gracefully, I realized what grace is, and glory is, holiness. Man, you're in the world, man. It's kind of hard to see it. Like it really is. It's like you can't. They say you can't. Those that love the world, the love of the Father not in them, and can't worship man in God. So you can only have one master. When you in the world, it's like you really are blind to God. Like it's like you really is blind, or you really is blind. Like when you think about if you're in the world, and you think about vacationing or going to the mall to get you a new outfit or something, and it's like from my home in, be- in between my home and the mall, I can't see. I can only see the mall. So people would need directions and maps and GPSs to get back home because they probably don't know what's between. Like when you was little, you knew how to get back home and stuff. The path you took to get to the stream, or like you was more in tune with truth. And then you in the world, it's like the places in between you and your destination is blank. It's like I can only see GameStop. I couldn't see between here and GameStop. Okay, let me try to catch up with you. Say that's the life of Jesus. That's the life Jesus gives us. It's wonderful. Okay, I read that. He said, "Come unto Him like a child, and the child doesn't know. It pays off abundantly." Amen. He steers our consciousness when we are in the world. That's why we're blind when we're in the world. Yeah, I can feel it. It is blindness, and it's almost like you're joyful. You're blind. Like that's why we're gonna get this new video game. Is what I was thinking, right? Like Christmas, right? You start learning about Christmas. Depends on how you take it in, though, right? So you start learning about Christmas and the gifts under the tree, and you can skip a whole year or your birthday. You can skip through the whole year. You're just thinking about Christmas. Where you say he steers our conscience when we are in the world. That's why we are blind. It's awful like we're blind because we're grabbing at everything in the world offers. We can't even see that harms us. Let me try this again. It's awful like we're blind because we're grabbing at everything. Then the world offers, we can't even see that harms us. Okay, now I got it. No, worship at idols. Yeah, worship at idols. Can't see. Christmas is great. A great burden on families. That's what I think about Christmas. God said, don't cut a tree now and bring it in your house and decorate it silver and gold. So what does everybody do? It's like don't jump off the roof on your head, right? Oh no, it's still not. Can you hear me? Mm-hmm. Am I still there? Mm-hmm. Am I still there? Can you hear me? Ron? Oh, it's still there. Oh, okay. I don't know, man. Why my speaker so low? Wacky World did something with me stuff, man. I don't know. Sick of this out. The overseer over there. See, my voice sound low. It's all the way up on my end. It's all the way up on this end. But the equalizer or the sound visual saying it's low. Wow, man. Anyone there? I don't know why it's doing this, but it's low even on my end. I got the volume all the way up. Over there. I gotta work with what I have. We say Christmas is celebrating that don't care for. Jesus was born in the fall. Anyway, not speak with fear. Yeah, I've heard that before. You still there, Skywalker? Oh, God gave me the fruits and vegetables I need. I don't know. You still there, Dennis? Just checking before I close this screen. Everybody wants kung fu fighting. Wow. They think it's electric. Darling. Everybody wants kung fu fighting. Uh-huh. Okay. They done added all kind of stuff in here. I didn't know all this stuff was in here. What is it? Mm-hmm. I really don't know what's going on. But y'all can't see it on. Okay, they can't see it on. Put up all kind of stuff on my screen, man. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So what they be doing with my stuff? I'm over there with the girl. I don't know. I don't know what this stuff is. I have no idea what it is. Maybe that's when somebody else come on. A lot of reverb. Okay, let me see. I can fix it. He said like echoing or something. It got a lot of features in here. I don't know. It's stuff in here I didn't even know, man. What's the video file? Yes. I'm gonna leave it alone for right now. Probably do it in the back. I don't know what it is. Hold on, I'm gonna leave out and come back in. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? producing, right? Background noise.
Can you hear me now? This probably what he did where it got more features in the desktop version than the regular mobile version. Restart the stream. Okay, I'll do that. Where you said restart the stream. I'll do that too.